Welcome to 5TN. I'm your host, Dr. Yavuz Selim Sılay, and I'm going to go through the 5 top news of technology today. Our first news is from Basil Cromwell. As we know, the question is, do actually are going to be a utilization of laptop here or not? Will you actually buy a laptop in 10 years or not? This is the main question. And as we know, the rise of smartphones are on the go. Everyone is using smartphones nowadays. But however, the laptops are still a wonderful thing, right? It rests on our laps. When we're on a train or a flight or on a table in a cafe, it does help us unleash our mobile productivity. And then we feel like we're champions. The problem is some can last about 12 hours on a single charge, and others can even play top-tier PC games. So laptops are great, right? However, desktops are falling out of fashion and out of favor. More interesting is still the fact that laptops are taking over from PCs in the modern workplace. Now, many agencies and small businesses, including in Africa, would sooner kit out their workforces with MacBooks, Surfaces, or ThinkPads than a stationed PC, even if the worker being kitted out is office-based. Many people are now working office-based, but still will be using this. So, according to the analyst house, IDC, the global number of desktops shipped worldwide will sink from 97.8 million in 2017 to 86 million by 2022. The numbers are echoed by market insights published on Statista, which goes further suggesting desktop shipments will be down at 79.5 million by 2023. The decline of global desktop shipments in millions. From 2018 onwards, the numbers are predictions. And when I look at this news, in 2019, it was mentioning global desktop PC shipments are forecast to reach 88.4 million units, possibly due to the widespread uptake of laptops and notebooks. And more recently, tablet devices and even smartphones, sales and shipments figures for desktop PCs have sunk steadily since 2012. And it is expected to decline into the future. As for people who are at home, the home users, it's a similar story. Buying a laptop seems actually smarter than picking up a PC for many. Unless you're a pro, cryptocurrency data miner, creative or gamer, you can power through the video edits and the like with your clamshell MacBook Pro or Razer Blade Stealth 13 in a respectably short amount of time. Laptops rule the roost, and the case for desktops is dwindling. But what about in 10 years' time? Laptops are the new PCs, but where do smartphones fit in? Laptops rule the roost at the moment. 12 years ago, the idea that a phone could step on a laptop or desktop's turf would have seemed ridiculous. Then again, so too would the reality is the phones, for the most part, are actually replaced are digital cameras. Any of you are using digital cameras? It is now going down and replaced by your phones. MP3 players are replaced again. E-readers are replaced again. GPS are replaced again. Your cell phone is not just an alarm clock, a calendar, an organizer, MP3 player, a digital camera, a e-reader, a GPS. Not to mention our social interactions that many of us are using through social media, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, or Instagram. So the question is, it just makes sense. We have them on us almost all the time. Most of them last a full day on a single charge, and they're becoming more powerful without bulking up too much. Meanwhile, according to the Global Web Index, laptop and PC use has dropped year on since 2015. The question is, when we look at the Concept D series, which the AC, the Taiwanese company, is putting out as a product of category that innovates, it puts gaming power into a quiet, design-oriented cases. It meets a need of creatives who don't want bulky RGB-lit gaming laptops, but want all the oomph. You could argue the low sound emissions from such powerful kit showcases innovation of sorts. And the point is, Lenovo has also recently launched its YogaBook C930, a super slender laptop with an e-ink keyboard. Dig a bit deeper and there's really cool stuff behind its virtual keys. The e-ink keyboard is self-learning, so it picks up on the compensates for your keystroke habits while you type. I can look at the ergonomic virtual layout set for different styles, resulting in significant typing error reduction and increased typing speeds in the user tests. The YogaBook C9030 development team, Edward Huang, actually mentioned that it followed this up with the first folding screen. And now the Samsung is using a new folding screen laptop, but it won't actually be on the market until next year. You may argue it's just a glorified folding tablet anyway, but Lenovo's folding laptop, which looks like just a giant tablet, isn't available until next year. And despite all these different markets, between the folding screens and the 5G, the horizon doesn't appear particularly bright for intriguing laptop design. And the HP Omen X2S laptop has a second screen above the keyboard. It's targeted at gamers who want to keep an eye on Twitch stream while still gaming on the main display. It's big, bulky, and we can't help but feel it's what the touch bar on Apple's MacBook Pro should have been. Can smartphones replace PCs and laptops? The Galaxy Tab S4 can be attached to a monitor and used with the Deck X dock to replace the traditional PC. Many manufacturers have tried to turn your Pocket Pal into a bona fide workstation. Everyone from Motorola and Microsoft to Samsung and Huawei have tried to create a desktop replacement. The idea is that desktop interfaces can be emulated with a smartphone powering the respective experience that's projected to a TV or monitor. These look and feel very similar to a Windows. And when you actually pair it with a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse, the package feels a lot like a desktop that runs Android apps. Some of the ideas are dead in the water, and you still need a separate screen, dongle, and often a mouse and a keyboard to create that desktop experience. One of the things working against desktop is that their lack of portability. It's not portable. And when you look at the smartphone, it is like a subpar desktop experience. And that's why it hasn't quite taken off yet. The tablet thread Apple's Pencil is a stylus, which allows users to write a draw on their iPad. Tablets could be product category-based positioned to level the laptop thanks to their big screens and the fact many iPad users are more than happy ditching their laptops in favor of Apple's expensive slate. The iPad, however, isn't a typical tablet. Tablet sales have continued to decline for all tablet manufacturers other than Apple and Huawei in recent years, according to the research done by IDC. So you'll be actually hooking up a mouse to one after 10 minutes or frustrating screen prodding if you're anything like us. Despite iPads being on the rise, however, they have a high price, unfortunately, and this makes them more expensive than most laptops. And given the fact they aren't an all-in-one solution, you need to buy a keyboard, folio, cover separately to benefit from an off-screen typing experience. And you don't have a full suite of professional creative applications like the Adobe's Creative Cloud. They are still regarded by many as a novelty, productivity, and a play tool for the well-to-do. The foldable phones, do you think they will dethrone the laptops? Huawei Mate X folding phone will cost around £2,000. And the Huawei suspend any negative opinions recent Samsung Galaxy Fold Press has garnered for the time being. There is a good chance folding screen tech could shape the future of mobile computing. One of the main reasons we say this is based on the amount of the research and development spend that's been plumbed into the Bandy tech. Years of testing and manufacturing has already gone into it. And while first generation results are imperfect, the potential is there. To recap, both Huawei and Samsung have announced foldable phones. The Huawei Mate X folds with the screen on the outside, and the Samsung Galaxy Fold has two screens, one on the outside, the other on the inside. When opened out, both phones unfurl into a small tablet experience, 8 inches or less. If in the future these were paired with a dockable system like the keyboard portion of the Surface Book, it could be a foldable phone and providing a big enough screen to spell an end to the laptop as we know it. So, not anytime soon, but an 8-inch screen just isn't big enough to stack up to even a small laptop like the Dell XPS 13. So laptops are safe for now, still safe for the time being. Yes, laptops are more than likely safe for now. They may even make it through the next decade, but will people still be buying them when all our phones have folding screens? Users need to decide what is more important to them, autonomy or more screen property. Folding screens, or may also be more receptive to damage. So again, it depends on the usage requirements, says Nick Klassen, the head of product category management at Acer UK. The fact remains, what makes laptops so hard to kill off is their all-in-one design. It gives them evolutionary robustness. A laptop has a big screen, a keyboard, and a space for powerful internals, not to mention a decent-sized battery. Even with smartphones changing the way we work, therefore, we're guessing most professionals wouldn't choose to create a white paper or compose a complex email on their mobile. The future is fast. The future is now. 5G. 5G is closer than around the corner. It's already active in 5 places, including the train station in Birmingham, thanks to Vodafone. When asked about how 5G would shape Britain's mobile workforce, Vodafone CTO Scott Perry had a lot to say. But it didn't touch on the demise of the laptop. 5G will revolutionize the workplaces and reshape the way employees interact and work. Support applications for the mobile workforce that are more data intensive. And in time, 5G will actually make the prospect of seamless business travel via connected cars and smart cities a reality. And that's why this is the question. When these 5G really becomes the game changer and people start using these, ultimately the laptop hasn't needed to transform itself too much since 1981. So it fundamentally fulfills a need that has continued for almost 40 years. This is likely in part down to the fact that adults and young adults prefer typing on physical keyboard than on a screen alternative. With the generations changing, a decent amount of screen real estate is also needed to comfortably manage the workflow, roughly 12 inches or more. After all, we are generations that have been reared on Windows. Those interfaces loaded up with, you guessed it, Windows. If anyone is going to kill off laptops though, it's the kids. The kids, the generation whose first digital language is touchscreen, including my child. They start the day with touchscreens. And whose idea of multitasking is split screen, working on an iPad with the TV on in the background. Apple's boss, Tim Cook, seems to be aware of this fact as he pushes his company into creating ever more powerful iPads that outperform and outsell laptops completely. This is our first news that I really wanted to highlight, and you can check more about this at metro.co.uk about won't the laptops actually survive or not? That's the question in the next 10 years. You can also check through Facebook, metro.uk. And the second news that I really want to highlight is about our privacy. Will we actually just accept our loss of privacy, or has the backlash already begun, says Aaron Rusbridger. So not so long ago, we searched Google. Now we seem quite happy to let Google search us. As always in the digital world, everything could be disrupted in the blink of an eye. So probably too late to ask, but was the past year the moment we lost our technological innocence? The Alexa in the corner of the kitchen monitoring your every word, the location betraying device in your pocket, the dozen trackers on that web page you just opened, the thought that 5G network could, in some hazily understood way, be hardwired back to different places like Beijing or Washington or Moscow. So the spook use of live facial recognition on CCTV cameras across London. With privacy, there have been so many landmarks in the past 12 months. The $5 billion Federal Trade Commission fine, you all know, on Facebook to settle the Cambridge Analytica scandal. The accidental exposure of a mind-blowing 1.2 billion people's details from 2 data enrichment companies, up to 50 million medical records spilled. Maybe your mind was changed by the New York Times Privacy Project, an intensely reported and alarming year-long exploration of the issue. Or the publication of Shoshana Zuboff's searing book, The Age of Surveillance Capitalism. Actually, was it the growing unease over the probable manipulation of elections the world over, or the moment when you learned from whistleblowers that big tech giants had hired actual humans to monitor Siri and Alexa activations? Who ended up listening to couples making love? Even people whose job it is to think deeply about technology have begun to come out with forms of belated protest and dissent. The Washington Post tech columnist Geoffrey A. Fowler concluded in 2019 by writing, "Learning how everyday things spy on us made me at times feel paranoid. Most of my privacy project left me angry. Our cultural reference points, Big Brother and tinfoil hats, don't quite capture the sickness of an era when we gleefully carry surveillance machines in our pockets and install them in our homes." So we gleefully carry surveillance machines in our pockets and install them in our homes, in our pockets, says. And actually owned by one of the biggest data harvesters of all, Amazon's Jeff Bezos, one of the richest people in the world, was not alone in publishing detailed guides to readers on the steps they could try to recover a degree of privacy online. But most commentators agree that, including Ntr TV, such measures are too little, too late. Maybe 20 years too late. We were caught off guard by surveillance capitalism, says Zuboff, a Harvard professor. Once we searched Google, but now Google searches us. Remember this. Once we thought of digital services as free, but now surveillance capitalists think of us as free. The message is very simple, dear Ntr TV providers. Once I was mine, now I'm theirs. So this concludes actually our second news, where we want to make sure that the privacy issues are discussed clearly. 21 years ago, when Scott McNealy, the CEO of Sun Microsystems, pronounced, "You have zero privacy anyway, get over it," that may, technically speaking, be true. A different question is, have we reached the tipping point when enough people mind? The traditional response is to argue that privacy has become a bargain. We may all be uneasy about granting so much access to our lives that big corporations know more about us than we do about ourselves. But we are, by and large, happy to trade that data mostly for the services and the convenience we get. So, for example, Harvard professors can wring their hands about the human rights implications and the menacing power of the algorithm, but in the end, the world has moved on, and the privacy genie is never gonna get back into the bottle. A second scenario is that there will be some sort of backlash, with consumers increasingly changing their privacy settings, both real and metaphorical. So, the other news is cybercrime. The cybercrime laws are becoming very important in UK. And what's changed in the past year is the growing realization of the sheer scale of what's happening. You or I might have been reasonably relaxed about Google or Instagram targeting us with tailored ads in return for free email, search, or social pictures, but we may draw the line at the newly revealed armies of trackers and data brokers, traders and compilers who are running riot across insurance, retail, finance, health, education, and much, much more. The New York Times found smartphones broadcasting the exact locations of users thousands of times per day through hundreds of apps. So the New York Times editorial that I checked says it is not a glitch in the system. It is the system. If the government ordered Americans to continuously provide such precise, real-time information about themselves, there will be a revolt. And maybe, just maybe, there will be one. Possibly it could take just one more massive hack or a leak or breach of data to make even non-New York Times readers sit up and take notice. A third scenario could see a gradual shift in behaviors as new players enter the market, along with new technologies that allows for the better stewardship of personal data. So-called edge computing seeks to move information out of the cloud, back on the personal devices. So the Apple iPhone that seeks to do encryption and store biometric information that your smartphone itself, rather than pinging information halfway around the globe. One estimate is that there may be 200 or 300 startups, small, medium enterprises, entrepreneurs, rethinking the ownership and the value of the data. Finland's My Data project, I want you to check Finland's My Data project, is just one high-profile attempt to let individuals regain control of their own data. Other players are exploring how blockchain can strengthen privacy as a basic consumer right. The jury is out, and the doubtless will be for a while yet. The final scenario is regulation. Europe has led the way with GDPR. The recent thumping $5,000 fine, £5,000 fine on Dixon's car phone for not spotting the malicious software planted on more than 5,000 It used to be assumed that US would be slow to go down on this route, but there have been baby steps in Vermont and Illinois, and January 2020 saw the introduction of the California Consumer Privacy Act, which marks a significant change in how West Coast companies need to behave. The question is, who will follow? So, and this is actually our second news that I really wanted to highlight. And again, I am really worried myself about the privacy loss, which can actually become a bigger problem. So the way that we are able to access and the convenience we have versus the privacy we have. Which one should we choose? That's the question. And when we look at different people that are carrying and this discussion, the competitors that align themselves with the actual needs of people and the norms of a market democracy, says Zuboff, are likely to attract just about every person on earth as their customer. However, now there is an opportunity. Alan Rusbridger chairs the Reuters Institute for the Study of Journalism, and actually he is a senior advisor to Watatawa Communications Consultancy as 2020 begins. And he mentions that he is asking the readers, like you, to make a New Year contribution in support and make sure that there can be ways that we are able to really make sure our privacy is balanced with our actual approach to access journalism. So more people than ever before are actually turning back and reading and supporting our journalism in more than 180 countries around the world. And this is only possible because of you are supporting Ntr TV. And you can always call me directly through our Ntr TV WhatsApp number, and you're welcome to reach directly to me and provide your 1-minute video where you talk about your technology needs, because this platform is actually for you, and you're able to provide the technology news as a journalist of Ntr TV. So I'm inviting you to 5TN to become a technology journalist. And let's search around the globe, as well as in Africa, the real technology opportunities that are rising, that are changing the world, that are actually changing how we do business and touches our life on a daily basis. Because as we enter a new decade, I need your support so we can deliver quality journalism together that is open and independent, and that is here for the long term. That's why I want every person who is watching the Ntr TV 5TN to call us and let us know and provide their WhatsApp video in 1 minute, which we will show in our episodes in our future programs. And I really want to thank you that you are actually interacting with 5TN, because 5TN is the news of 5 technology. I want to also highlight a very interesting other news. This new machine learning algorithm produces near perfect fake human faces. And face synthesizing algorithms often struggle with facial details like eyes and teeth. These features sometimes get pinned to a fixed spot as the head turns, resulting in an uncanny valley dweller. A new algorithm, StyleGAN2, fixes this problem and produces eye-poppingly detailed and correct images. It can also generate never-before-seen cars, churches, and animals. Let's check this very interesting video and understand where we're going.
Dear fellow scholars, this is 2-minute papers with Károly Zsolnai Fehér. Neural network-based learning algorithms are on the rise these days, and even though it is common knowledge that they are capable of image classification, or, in other words, looking at an image and saying whether it depicts a dog or a cat, nowadays they can do much more. In this series, we covered a stunning paper that showcased a system that could not only classify an image, but write a proper sentence on what is going on, and could cover even highly non-trivial cases. You may be surprised, but this thing is not recent at all. This is 4-year-old news. Insanity. Later, researchers turned this whole problem around and performed something that was previously thought to be impossible. They started using these networks to generate photorealistic images from a written text description. We could create new bird species by specifying that it should have orange legs and a short yellow bill. Later, researchers at NVIDIA recognized and addressed 2 shortcomings. One was that the images were not that detailed, and two, even though we could input text, we couldn't exert too much artistic control over the results. In came StyleGAN to the rescue, which was able to perform both of these difficult tasks really well. These images were progressively grown, which means that we started out with a coarse image and go over it over and over again, adding new details. This is what the results look like, and we can marvel at the fact that none of these people are real. However, some of these images were still contaminated by unwanted artifacts. Furthermore, there are some features that are highly localized. As we exert control over these images, you can see how this part of the teeth and eyes are pinned to a particular position, and the algorithm just refuses to let it go, sometimes to the detriment of its surroundings. This new work is titled StyleGAN 2, and it addresses all of these problems in one go. Perhaps this is the only place on the internet where we can say that finally teeth and eyes are now allowed to float around freely and mean it with a positive sentiment. Here you see a few hand-picked examples from the best ones, and I have to say these are eye-poppingly detailed and correct-looking images. My goodness! The mixing examples you see here are also outstanding, way better than the previous version. Also, note that as there are plenty of training images out there for many other things beyond human faces, it can also generate cars, churches, horses, and of course, cats. Now that the original StyleGAN 1 work has been out for a while, we have a little more clarity and understanding as to how it does what it does, and the redundant parts of the architecture have been revised and simplified. This clarity comes with additional advantages beyond faster and higher quality training and image generation. For instance, interestingly, despite the fact that the quality has improved significantly, images made with the new method can be detected more easily. Note that the paper does much more than this, so make sure to have a look in the video description. In this series, we always say that 2 more papers down the line, and this technique will be leaps and bounds beyond the first iteration. Well, here we are, not 2, but only 1 more paper down the line. What a time to be alive! The source code of this project is also available. What's more, it even runs in your browser. This episode has been supported by Weights and Biases. Weights and Biases provides tools to track your experiments in your deep learning projects. It can save you a ton of time and money in these projects and is being used by OpenAI, Toyota Research, Stanford, and Berkeley. Here you see a beautiful final report on one of their projects on classifying parts of street images and see how these learning algorithms evolve over time. Make sure to visit them through wendb.com/papers or just click the link in the video description and you can get a free demo today. Our thanks to Weights and Biases for helping us make better videos for you. Thanks for watching and for your generous support, and I'll see you next time.
Welcome to 5TN. Our next news is Stephen King. Stephen King actually quits Facebook over concerns of false information. This is a news from CNN. Can living in a wellness home make you healthier? The veteran PBS anchor Jim Lehrer has died, and Elon Musk does good at rockets. And there are other news that we can talk about. But overall, I want you to think that we are able to call 5TN, talk about what the technology news are available there. And I want to hear from Africa, from all over the world, that what is interesting for you? What are really interesting from your side about technology? Whether it's a trade war with China, about if you should delete your Facebook account or not, the impacts of coronavirus outbreak into the markets, and other things that you feel is impacting Africa. And overall, this is very important for us. I want 5TN be your own show. So please call our WhatsApp number and let's together have a great discussion around technology and understanding the amazing news that is impacting our lives. I am your host, Dr. Yavuz Selim Silay, and I'm really excited that we are able to meet together through this program at 5TN. So I look forward to hearing your news and able to share the most interesting news that is changing the world that is actually really impacting on our lives. That can be an amazing change that we can walk and talk and really understand how technology is changing your daily life, your business life, your personal life, and all over the world. Technology is the truth. That's why I'm inviting you to 5TN, which is one of the most exciting shows in Africa. I'm your host, Dr. Yavuz Selim Sılay. Let's continue our show and continue your news that I will hear from you through our WhatsApp number. Now on the screen you can see our WhatsApp number. Please call that number. Leave your 1-minute video, share with us, and we will talk together about the 5TN show. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. All the best. Take care.